Everybody's gonna get you.
That's right.
I'm just saying, we can see you guys doing it.
So you have
Undo the camera and then click.
Oh, that's,
Okay.
I'm outside of that's, okay.
Huge.
Where is that? Yeah, oh, it's right there.
Yeah, it's
So
this
got
thing.
its own little thing.
Can we,
looks like we're online, maybe?
little's kind of invisible. Yeah, that's better.
There we go. Okay. That works.
Is good now?
Yeah. Can y'all hear us online?
Let me see where the sound.
Yes.
Can hear us.
Okay. So with that, Commissioner Anaya, can I ask you,
need to
does it
make
look
sure-
like we are publicly streaming and recording on your end?
Yes, I made sure to hit record, so we are publicly streaming and recording, Chairman.
Okay, so I count, yes, of course, thank you. I count here in person, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 commissioners, and then, Commissioner Naya, you're there, so that's 6. Do you see other commissioners online, at least one more?
Miss Sharon Pino
Sharon?
is on.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
appearing for Maggie Toulouse Oliver.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Pino. It's 11:08 a.m. on Friday, March 14th, and the New Mexico Martin Luther King Jr. Commission will please come to order. And to ensure our proceedings are conducted in order and without interruptions, I will ask everybody to please, online and in person, please silence your devices. Please don't speak unless you've been recognized by the chair. Members of the public can be recognized during public comment, which is on our agenda. And then if you're online, please mute yourselves unless you're seeking to be recognized to speak. So with that, the secretary is, I don't believe he's online and I don't see him here in person yet. So here's the roll. I'll just call the roll. Commissioner Dabney. Commissioner Melia.
Here.
Cabinet Secretary Monette. State Treasurer Montoya or her designee, Commissioner Anaya.
Here.
PRC Chairman O'Connell or his designee, Commissioner Carroll.
Here.
Secretary of State Maggie Toulouse Oliver or her designee, Commissioner Pino.
Here.
Commissioner Robinson. Commissioner Rodini. Commissioner Stone.
Here.
Commissioner Traub. Vice Chair Williams.
Here.
Commissioner Umi.
Here.
And the chair is here. So that makes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, at least 8 commissioners present. And I do find that there's a quorum. So that takes us to the next Agenda, approval of the agenda. Thank you, Commissioner Stone. Is there any motion related to approval of the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion by the vice chair. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Umi. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Commissioner Dabney. Commissioner Melia.
Here, yes.
Cabinet Secretary Monette. State Treasurer Montoya or her designee, Commissioner Naya.
Yes.
PRC Chair O'Connell is designee, Commissioner Carole.
Yes.
State Secretary of State Salus Oliver or designee
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson, Commissioner Rotini, Commissioner Stone, Commissioner Traub, Vice Chair,
Yes.
Commissioner Umi.
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, and I vote yes as the chair. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 in favor and none opposed. The motion carries. Next item on the agenda, approval of the minutes from February 21st, 2024. Is there any motion?
A motion to approve the minutes?
Thank you, Vice Chair, for the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, second by Commissioner Carole. And with that, is there any discussion? Hearing none. Commissioner Dabney. Commissioner Melia.
Yes.
Cabinet Secretary Monette. State Treasurer or her designee, Commissioner Naya.
Yes.
PRC Chair O'Connell or designee, Commissioner Carole.
Yes.
Secretary of State or designee, Commissioner Pino.
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson. Commissioner Rotini. Commissioner Stone.
Yes.
Commissioner Trott. Vice Chair Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Umi.
Yes.
And I vote yes as chair. That is another 8-0. The motion carries. And now for the Dr. King minute to be presented to us by Commissioner Stone. Dr. Stone.
Okay, so in light of March being Women's History Month, I'm going to transform our Dr. King Minute to a Coretta Scott King Minute. That's okay with you. As a way to pay homage to women leaders who quite literally fed and nurtured the movement, but were overshadowed, hidden, or unfortunately forgotten. So as we pay homage to Ms. King and her legacy today, I want to share a few known and unknown facts and challenges to think about how we advance our commission forward. Well, what we all likely know is that Coretta Scott King was a civil rights activist, an author, and the wife of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. She played a key role in advocating for racial equality and social justice, both during and after her husband's assassination. She was also a strong advocate for women's rights, LGBTQ+ rights, long before many civil rights leaders chose to, and she worked tirelessly to ensure that her husband's legacy of nonviolence continued. But what many may not realize is that from the very beginning, she challenged patriarchal norms. She courageously insisted that the word obey be removed from their Baptist wedding vows, setting a precedent for other Black women leaders who refused to shrink or diminish themselves to fit traditional gender roles. Mrs. King taught us how to carry loss, deep loss, and grief with grace, dignity, and power, establishing the King Center as one of her greatest legacy contributions. It was also Mrs. King who spearheaded the massive educational lobbying campaign to establish Dr. King's birthday as a holiday. But what I didn't know is that after the passage of the King holiday, she was the one who requested the establishment of an MLK Junior Commission, which Congress enacted in 1983. So I did not know that we are standing here today as a commission because of her labor to bring this to fruition, and I'm deeply grateful. And so while she accomplished so many things, which resonated with me and I hope inspires us all, she continuously evolved with the movement, demonstrating that true revolutionaries never stop growing. And so I believe we can all follow Coretta Scott King's embodiment of leadership, not being tied to a title, but to our acts of service. And as we continue to build our strategic action plan and we invite members of our community to serve with us, I hope that we will consider some sort of initiative that leads us to think about a Coretta's Courage, a Coretta's Corner, a Coretta's Dream initiative or activity where we ensure that our community and our youth understand the contribution and great value of women leaders who fed, nurtured, and carried King's principles forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stone. Thank you. Very much. Appreciate that. And so that takes us to the next item on our agenda. Item 7 is public comment and community input. And I just like to ask, come on in, Commissioner. You like? So, we'd like the record reflect that the secretary has joined the meeting, and we were just about to take up public comments and community input. So as to that, I'd just like to ask if we have anyone who wishes to make public comment today. Okay, I just see one person. Is there anyone online who wishes to make public comment? Okay, hearing none, then yes, sir, you recognize.
I just want to speak to the work that the commission does. I want to thank you guys and commend you guys for all the work you do. The process of hiring the ED has highlighted some of the work that the community does that's commendable. Coming together to push for individuals to be placed in leadership positions is something that we need to see more of. But it also highlighted a lot of the petty issues that are holding our community back. Just minimal issues that stop the progress of our community. And so I think that we need that same concerted effort to address the further issues in the community. One thing that I see is the same issues that the MLK Commission had, maybe not is on the same level, but the OAAA office, they're having their own issues. And I think those need to be addressed so this these two offices can work a lot better and we can progress and we can have more progress in the community. There's just a lack of that. And so I just think that both those offices being in the same building, those issues need to be addressed in that office. It seems like this office has a good team here put together and you guys are putting an effort to move forward and try to address these issues. So I commend what you guys are doing. I just think that the church leaders and the other community leaders that came together also need to come together with the rest of the community so we can address that and also be a part of the progress and not hold back the community from the progress. So that's just what I see. I see a lot of issues not caused by the commission, but I think the outside leadership, the church and some of the outside leadership, we kind of foster that. And I think that needs to kind of be a conversation with the church and some of our other leaders, but it speaks to the issues that OAAA office has, MLK office addressed. And I think that what you guys are doing here will start to address these issues. So I want to commend you guys and thank you guys.
Thank you for that comment. And I want to ask Commissioner Naya, I saw a notification pop up on the screen and I didn't know if someone was trying to be admitted. Can you confirm that there's nobody waiting to be admitted to the meeting?
I can confirm that I accepted them in from the lobby into the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure there was nobody wanting to be admitted who wasn't because of the pop-up, which granted I can't read from here. So thank you for knowing the answer to that question. All right, so that takes us to the next item on our agenda, which is informational only items. So I do have one from the chair. I want to let everyone know who might be interested to serve on the Volunteer Advisory Committee that the Strategic Planning Committee extended the deadline for applications. If you'd like to be considered to be on that Volunteer Advisory Committee to help the Strategic Planning Committee this work, that new deadline is March 28th. And I also want to share with anyone who is interested exactly how you find the flyer that gives you the details. It's not easy to find on the website as you might hope. So you have to go to Programs and Services and click on programs and services. When you go to programs and services, you see a couple of options. Don't click on the option. You have to click directly on programs and services to bring up the programs and services page. And then look in the lower right-hand corner of that page. And that's where
they don't know I'm in the eating.
yes, we know now, Commissioner Robinson. Thank you for joining the meeting, and we're going to count you as present. At this point in the record will show that Commissioner Robinson has joined the meeting. And thank you for letting us know that.
Okay.
So, Commissioner Robinson, we've moved through our agenda to matters from the chair on informational items only is how far we've gotten. And I'm just letting the public know how they can find the flyer that gives them the details on how they can apply to be on the Volunteer Advisory Committee. So programs and services, lower right-hand corner of the page. And we are making requests of the acting director and the webmaster to make that more prominent so it'll be easier for you to find. But if you're interested to help the Strategic Planning Committee do its work, that's where you'll find the information on how to submit your application and the commissioner to call if you have questions. It's there on the website. Just not as easy to find as we might hope yet, but we're working on that.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a comment?
Absolutely. In fact, that's the next item on the agenda there, Commissioner. Matters from recognized.
Okay. Matter from the commission. I just got out of hospital 2 days ago, and I came to this meeting because I'm not the advisor of my healthcare provider, but I came so I can attend and I can show myself at the meeting. I just went through a major operation on my leg. Everything went well, but I'm here and I know you're going in executive session, and I would like to ask, I will excuse myself from the executive session because I'm not there and I couldn't come to Albuquerque because I was in the hospital.
Commissioner, thank you for sharing that with us. We're going to send our prayers with you for your recovery. We're glad to hear that things went well as they could. Of course, you can be excused from executive session. I thank you for making the effort to be here and to show your support. But we appreciate that. And we're going to send our prayers with you, as I said.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other commissioners have? Dr. Stone?
Thank you all so much. I just wanted to share that later as we hear from the executive director's report, there will likely be a transaction on there paid to First Stone Productions, which is my husband's company. And so just in the spirit of transparency, that contractual agreement was made before I came on to the commission, but was paid after I became a commissioner. So I just want to share that I had no involvement in that, but want to be transparent.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Stone. We really appreciate that disclosure for the several reasons that you have pointed out. That, I don't see any conflicts of interest in that situation, but I absolutely appreciate the disclosure and the transparency. Thank you for setting a high ethical example for all of us to follow. Any other matters from commissioners? Okay, so hearing none. Our next item is item number 9, the monthly budget financial status and update, which today will be presented to us by our mobile CFO, Ms. Lisa Jennings. Ms. Jennings?
Thank you, Chairman. So unfortunately, I can't connect to the Wi-Fi, so I can't get it on screen for
I
everybody.
can help you with that if you want. If that might make it easier. Oh, yeah.
Oh, someone does have it on screen. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you to whoever made that magic happen for us. We appreciate it.
Okay,
You're welcome.
so on the budget status, so the second slide. So as of when I ran this on Wednesday, there's 37% remaining in the personnel salaries and benefits category, or $85,000 approximately for the remainder of the year. And 67% or 31,000 remaining in the contractual category, or the 300s. And right now, 29% or $34,000 in the 400 category. That is not currently obligated or not currently already expended. So right now we are looking at 38% of the budget is remaining for the last 3 months of the year. So to kind of put that into perspective. For the monthly financial statements, I did slightly change the format this time because it was getting a little bit too big to put on the screen, and this is still kind of a lot of information to put on one slide. This does show you, I broke everything down into like quarters. So the first two columns are the first 2 quarters of the year to show you what was expended, and then where we are currently for quarter 3. So since we've kind of closed out the month of February, you'll see that we had $35,000 approximately that was actually paid out in February. We're still trying to get some of the payments from Dream Weekend processed. And unfortunately, a few of them take a little bit longer just because of having to do white papers and direct pay requests and other stuff with Department of Finance and Administration. So there is still $22,000 that are currently in the process of making their way through to actually be vouchered and expended. So that's included on the second to last line. But these expenditures were current as of March 12th. So we've currently expended a total of $215,000 out of the budget. And then on the next slide, here's the actual breakdown of what was expended for the month of February, similar to how we presented it in prior months, so that you can actually see like who we're actually paying and what we were paying them for. And yes, Dr. Stone's husband is on the list. And I also want to express my appreciation to him for his patience that day that he came in to fill out his W-9, because your poor husband went through so many versions because that form just does not work. So he definitely earned his payment for that one just for doing the form by itself. So, and I will stand for any questions from the commission.
What is the pumping service?
That was to, Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, that was actually to pay for porta potties for Dream Weekend so that people have services.
Any other questions for the CFO from the commissioners? Commissioner Carroll.
Thanks for the presentation, CFO. The second slide, it was the PSB category. What does that stand for? PSEB?
Personnel, sorry, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Kroll, that's personnel, salaries, and employee benefits.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We get a copy of this. Is that available?
Well, are you asking for a hard copy?
Yeah.
Do we have a hard copy?
Is it accessible on the
At
the website?
may not be posted to the website yet, but CFO, can I ask, did you by chance maybe circulate this one by email? Because somehow Commissioner Anaya got it to put it on the screen here.
Chairman, I believe that Ms. Beverly, or Acting Director Beverly, sent it out, but I'm not sure exactly on that.
There was a PowerPoint.
Chairman,
Go ahead, Commissioner Knight.
Miss Lisa Jennings is correct. Miss Beverly did forward this to all commissioners.
Okay, so it probably, I'm guessing it came in sometime this morning because I didn't see it before I left to come here. So.
It was attached to the invite for the meeting.
Oh, I see. And the meeting invite came out this morning too?
No, the meeting invite came out yesterday.
I didn't get to the meeting invite, I don't think.
I don't know what time this came out, but it came out yesterday. I saw it last night.
Yeah, like 10 in the morning, like 10:41 is when I got it.
This morning.
No, yesterday morning. 10:41.
Interesting. I didn't receive it for some reason, but Here's what we'll do, Commissioner Lee, because I'm thinking the same thing. I would like to have seen a hard copy of it or had seen a copy of it. So what I will say is one of the commissioners who did receive it can forward it to you directly, or they can send it to me because I'd like to have it, and then I'll make sure I forward it to you. Either way, we'll make sure you get it.
You're listed on there, you guys are,
Okay.
yeah, at gmail.com. It's on there. So it came at 6:45 last night.
Okay, and the other thing that we like to do with our minutes is attach a copy of the presentations that are made to us to the minutes so that we keep it as part of our record, what is being presented. So make sure you get a copy. We'll make sure it's attached to the minutes so everybody gets a copy of it. Any other questions for the CFO? I do have a question. Is there any chance that you have budget projections to share with us?
I have the budget projections, but they're still in flux right now, so, and I don't have them where she can share them on screen, but I can share them with you.
If you might be able to, I think this is going to help us later in our meeting. If you can give us the highlights of what your budget projection shows. Or we can improve our technological situation, which is the better solution. Thank you. Yes, sir. Appreciate that. So we'll just just so everybody knows, we're just taking a moment to make sure that the CFO can connect to the internet, and then maybe she'll be able to show us the projection on screen. Yeah, that's right. She'll project the projections with the projector.
It's okay.
So we'll just stand at ease for a couple moments while the CFO is connecting.
Toby Brock.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Stone over there. It's the smallest notebook I've ever seen. That's cool. Thanks for everybody's patience. We're just having a brief standing at ease recess while the CFO is connecting.
Really?
45 minutes.
Now, Mr. Chairman, in the answer to your question, here is the current budget projection that I was working on the screen.
Okay, thank you. We'll be back in order, and the CFO now has their budget projection on screen. So go take it away there, CFO. Thank you.
So I apologize, this is kind of a difficult format for on screen, but so the current projection, and this brings hiring in the executive director towards the end of March or kind of the middle of April. So I did back it off one more pay period, just since there was discussion previously that they might not be hired by the end of March, or they might not, be approved by the end of March. So there would be 29,000 left at the end of the year in the personnel services category, so 200 category. We're currently looking at $32,000 surplus in the 300 category. Now for the 400 category, with the planned programs, that were previously disclosed to me during the year. I'm still looking at a running subtotal of 97,000 for planned projects for the year. With that, that would put us slightly over budget for the 200 category. But that would only leave us short 11,000 at the end of the year. That's anticipating your expenses to be high. Obviously your expenses usually come in lower than what you project them out to be. So that's kind of keeping us with that cushion, and we can adjust expenses in there as needed. And I know she's already cut a couple of programs that she wasn't going to be able to do. So I've removed a couple of items out from that. So, but this is also putting in an estimated salary since I don't know what the new executive director will be hired at. So I put in kind of a worst case, here's my really high salary. So there's a lot of numbers in here that are pure guesses. So that 11,000 over is not actually 11,000 over by any means.
Okay. Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
All right, so that 11,000 over with the assumptions and guesses that you have made and the estimates that you've made in this document, that's the entire total bottom line for the whole budget across all the different categories.
Yes, sir.
All right. So my next question is, I want to focus on real quick the 400 category.
Okay.
And how much of the 11,000 is over budget attributed to 400, which is programs?
So currently, Mr. Chairman, I'm looking at being 72,000 over in the 400 category. So I would have to do a bar towards the end of the year, or once we actually start getting close to seeing how we're going to spend this, to move the excess money out of the 200 and 300 category to cover that.
And what is the total from the, could you just repeat that number so I can make sure I understood it?
So it's currently, and this is with projecting $90,000 of additional expenses for programs that are not encumbered yet. We're looking at 72,000 over in the 400. But some of those expenses might be in the 300 category, because I don't know on when we're planning ahead for these projects, when we're paying the hotel cost or paying for services, I don't know for those upcoming projects if we're paying them out of the 300 category or the 400 category. So that's another, combine the 300 and the 400 together, and that would give you a better picture of your expenses outside of the personnel salaries.
So just to make sure I understand, 72,000 over in 400 category.
Potentially, Mr. Chairman, but
Okay.
please understand that that is without knowing which category those expenses are coming from. So if I combine the 300 and the 400 categories together, I'm only over by 36,000. But I have 30,000 in savings in my 200 category that I can bar into that.
Okay, so let me get to the 200 categories. That's gonna be my last question. That's a very important question because 200 category, just as a reminder for everyone, is where the personnel and salary comes from. And so we're looking at, today potentially looking at hiring an executive director and what their salary would be. And I know you have an estimate for that. So I want to come to the 200 category last. So with the 300 category, that is for contracts, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so can you just, on that category, I heard you say we are under budget.
Again, Mr. Chairman, that is without knowing where those planned projects are going to get paid out. I don't know when we pay the hotel for the youth programs coming up, if those expenses are coming out of the 300 or the 400. So I put them all into one line item to have a total, so I could just give you here I am for the total budget.
Okay, so if we assume that we take the money that is in the contract category, 300, and we're able to get it approved to move it into the 400 category with the budget adjustment request that you mentioned, right? If we assume that, then even between the 300 and 400 categories, I understood you to say we're still $36,000 over budget on programs?
Potentially. Worst case scenario, and anticipating all of your expenses to be high. Because I don't want to say I'm anticipating with, it's only gonna cost me $1,000, but then come in $2,000 over budget for a project that's coming up. So those were, if we do this is my high end estimate. Most of the estimates would come in below what we were thinking that they were going to be.
That's what we're all hoping right now.
So,
So, right, I understand that they may come in lower, and we're hoping for that because, yeah, okay, so it's 36,000 between the 300 and 400 categories. We're still over budget, 36,000. That means that's going to follow us into the 200 category, right? At 36,000.
potentially, yes, sir. But we currently have a surplus, and this is estimating, I kind of estimated a higher salary on, for the executive director. So, you currently have a savings in there or a surplus of 29,000.
Okay, which is still less than the 36. So,
But I know we have at least 5,000 or 6,000 of, we guessed high, what's into that.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? So I didn't quite understand. We have what built in?
And when we're sitting down guessing at what those projected costs are going to be, Mr. Chairman, we are saying, okay, I anticipate for this program, it's going to be $5,000, but I'm probably only going to actually spend $2,000 on that program. So I probably have, but I can't tell you that for sure. I don't have a magic ball in front of me to say I have at least $10,000 cushion built into that to this budget.
Right. And this is an important exercise that we're going through with the projection, so we know potentially what the worst case scenario is. That's what we need to know. And we hope that we come out better, but we need to have a firm grasp of the worst case scenario. But I got just a couple more questions, and then I'm gonna recognize the secretary and then the vice chair. Okay, all right. Thank you, secretary. If you don't mind, make that list and I'll recognize them in the order that you said. So, but I want to ask just a couple more questions. All right, so with the 200 category, with us potentially being over budget 36,000 between the other two categories, but also you said we may have a surplus of 29,000. Doing a little quick math, that still leaves us, if we appropriated all of the surplus from 200 category, it still leaves us how much over budget?
So, Mr. Chairman, that's where the 11,000 at the bottom, that is the subtotal of all of the categories.
All right, so if we take all of the surplus from the 200 category, then that's how we get back to the bottom line of being 11,000 over budget. Okay, now I need to understand what are the assumptions that you put in for compensation for the staff of the commission, both executive director and deputy director.
So, Mr. Chairman, currently I was keeping, so there's currently a temporary salary increase for the acting executive director to fill the additional responsibilities. So my assumptions are based on keeping that salary because I don't know the outcome. If, again, I don't have a magic ball in front of me to know whether when we hire the new person, what other changes would happen with staffing. So my assumption is keeping the temporary salary increase there. And that put a potential salary of 90,000 in for the executive director. When I took that into assumption, I was also looking at projections for a full year for next year to make sure that that would line up with your total budget next year. Next year, you currently have a proposed budget in the 200 category of 250,000. So with keeping the executive director at 90,000 and the deputy director at 82,000, that for the full year gives you a total Estimated salary and personnel benefits expense of $232,000. There's an additional insurance payment that comes out of the 200 category that this year was $15,000. So that gives me a little bit of cushion there to also cover that insurance payment and still stay within the $250,000 budget for next year.
Okay, so I asked a series of questions. Thank you for bearing with me. I just wanted some clarifications on what we were looking at. I know that we have several commissioners that have questions, so I may have a couple more questions at later, but I want to recognize first, I'm gonna recognize Vice Chair, Commissioner Stone, Commissioner Pearl, and then the Secretary. So Vice Chair.
So thank you, Sam, for putting on this, information. From your knowledge, do we just have essentially the youth conference as the last, major expenditures that we're expecting to do between now and the end of the fiscal year? Or do you have any other program outreach that you know of from just general? So there's one. Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, I do have the scratch list that we were using whenever we were developing the initial projection a couple of months ago. I don't have descriptions for all of them, but this does allow for the leadership or the youth leadership conference of the 50,000. There is a town hall that she listed at 2,500. And then payment for the rental center, the convention center. And I'm also not 100% sure on these numbers that were included in that total. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to meet with Ms. Beverly this week. Some of these might have still been holdout items from the weekend that have now already been expended. So I might have a couple things doubled.
Okay.
So I know we have a little bit of extra cushion still in the budget. And I apologize for that confusion.
Commissioner Stone. Okay, Commissioner Carroll.
Thank you, CFO Jennings, and thank you, Chairman. I just want to know what's the low end projections? And I know this is a potential in terms of lower budget, going over the budget.
Mr. Chairman, and Commissioner Kroll, what do you mean?
So you said, so in the worst case scenario, we might be over 72,000 over the budget, then we brought it out to 36,000. What's like the best case scenario?
Okay. Best case scenario. So the goal with most state agencies is to come close to breaking even. Like you don't want to go over, but you also don't want to leave money on the table because any money that I leave on the table, I now have to revert back. So, but if for some reason we decide to cut some of the programs because you don't know what direction the new executive director is going to take, then at this point in time, most of my projected expenditures for the remainder of the year, I would drop, especially this 97,000, I would drop that down to 50,000 for the youth conference.
Can you hold on just a second? I think we're supposed to actually be starting with the interviews do we need to have Christine?
Yeah.
contact them?
I've already rescheduled.
You're the best.
Thank you, Commissioner Anaya. We really appreciate all your with everything with the commission that you have been helping with. So anyway.
What time do we have those scheduled for?
So Chairman, I was able to push back the first one to 12:15 from 11:45 and the second one to 1:15.
Thank you so much. This is very, very helpful, and we're deeply appreciative.
Thank you.
And thank you, Vice Chair, for asking the questions, so we know that we're okay. So we have time to make sure we understand this, which is actually very important for what is to happen today. So, CFO.
So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Kroll, if I cut everything out except for the youth leadership conference, that would leave us with a surplus of $36,000. That would be my, if I'm not going to spend anything else for the rest of the year except the conference, which we know is important and our objective, and then also we have to still pay rent and utilities. So that would be, if we cut out everything else, there's where we would end up.
The surplus we still have to spend though, we still have to spend it anyway, so it's not really like a surplus, I guess. It's
Right,
not-
so if we have that surplus at the end of the year, I would then have to revert that back.
Unless we appropriate it into a different category, was a budget adjustment request.
If I do not spend that money by June 30th,
Well, I'm just saying, if we do a budget adjustment request, that may allow us to spend it before the end of the year in a different category, yes?
yes, sir, but this was cutting out all of those expenses to give him kind of the
That's right.
best case.
Yes.
Of,
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's good exercise.
Commissioner Pro, have, other questions for the CFO?
Oh, no.
Okay, and then that takes us then to the Secretary.
Mr. Chairman, I have a
Commissioner
question.
Robinson. Okay, you recognize Commissioner Robinson?
You make the CFO made a recommendation of combining 300 and 400. Do you need to approve that on the commission level? It's an automatic?
Let's see, let's ask the CFO that question, Commissioner Robinson.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Robinson, it's not a recommendation to combine them, like to do an actual bar. It's just for evaluation purposes right now, since I don't know exactly which category our future expenses are coming out of. Whether they're going to come out of the 300 or the 400 category, because those are both for my operational expenses. That was why I was considering, using, if you consider those two categories together, this is what my actual budget to spend is outside of my salaries.
But I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it sounds like you cut out 50% of the 76 down to 36 because you combined that. And I thought that was a recommendation to combine those two efforts so you can have a 36,000.
Commissioner Robinson, she's saying no, it is not a recommendation, but it is I guess it's correct me if I'm wrong, CFO, but the way I understand it is it's a discussion of the projection of how things could go, but I don't take it that she is recommending it to us right now. Is that right, CFO?
So, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Robinson, what I'm trying to do with that discussion is just to say, for my operational expenses, I can spend out of the 300 and the 400 category. So if I don't know exactly which category those expenses are going to come out of for our future projects that we're planning ahead to make sure that we have enough money to cover for the rest of the year, I just put those into one line item in the 400 category so that I knew I'm accounting for that expense somewhere. I point in time, it doesn't make a difference to me whether that's the 300 category or the 400 category. I know I have that budget to spend. So all I'm trying to say, I want to spend this money. Do I have enough money in the 300 and the 400 category to cover that? Or would I potentially need to borrow money, whatever's left over in that 200 category, borrow that out to spend that? At this point in time, these numbers are way too preliminary to make any kind of recommendation on doing a bar from any category. We need to have that probably will come up next month or the month after, once these numbers are a little more solidified, because you have a little more activity and most of our expenses are been covered in place. And plus, at that point, maybe we have the executive director who can then make those final decisions about which programs we're going to actually be doing going forward. So at this point in time, I do not have a recommendation to combine or do a bar to anything, if that helps.
That helps, but it kind of makes me nervous when I hear you say you make a recommendation to cut the budget down 36,000, and then you're saying that it's like a cafeteria approach. You can use that 300 or 400 any way you want to. And I think that's a slippery slope to give you and the future executive director that much authority.
Appreciate that perspective, Commissioner Robinson. And did you have any other questions or comments for the CFO?
I just need to, she never answered my question. I guess we're saying that we don't need a formal action to move the 300, 400 category with approval of the commission. I don't think that's, I think this is an arbitrary decision made that could be made by the CFO and the director. And personally, I would think that if this commission should formalize this process and combine them. And so I would make a motion to, I was going to make a motion to combine the two, but since it's not necessary, I withdraw my thinking.
Okay, Commissioner, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Yeah, we're gonna need to figure out what to do with this because, we're getting a lot of heavy information that I don't think we knew about. So we're gonna have to think our way through this one, and I appreciate your thought process and you sharing that with us. Anything else, Commissioner? Or otherwise, I recognize the next commissioner on the list.
I have nothing else, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Robinson. So Secretary Rothini.
My first question is, and this is probably an ignorant question. Is there a borrow fund that the MLK Junior Commission could use from the state if we get over our head and we go over budget?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. McKinney, no, sir. If we go over budget, it'll red flag in share when we try to enter those expenses, and we will not be able to have that spend authority. So share will not allow you to go over budget.
With the projections, do we have enough in savings to cover the possible debt we might get ourselves into? Is there enough?
So Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Rothini, so most state agencies operate where you receive your annual appropriation every month, or you receive an allotment every month for the annual appropriation.
Mhm.
You are allowed to spend that full dollar amount. So for this year, let me open this again. So for this year, your authorized budget is $390,600. So you are authorized to spend that much during the year. If you do not spend that, the remaining balance of that money gets reverted back to the state general fund at the end of the year. So you start next year at zero again. You do not have any savings in the bank to cover deficits in future years. You operate within your approved budget each year, if that helps.
It does, because I'm asking kind of actually leading questions. Because I'm wondering how much, because I can't remember how much the interim director was getting paid prior to the raise. And I'm wondering how much of this is frivolous cost or bad spending because of all of the flyers of things I've seen around town of the new events going on that I didn't see the last year. So I'm wondering like how, and then I see a banner that we can never reuse again during the MLK Junior Parade. So I'm wondering how much of this is bad spending on the projection.
So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Rothini, so for any of the projects or anything that are coming up, unfortunately, you do have an advertisement cost, which is kind of a sunk cost. You're not going to get that money back. But if you're going to have a program and not advertise it, then why did we have the program? Nobody's going to show up. And I get also, yes, we have the banners that we're not going to be able to use again. But if without those advertisement costs, you're not putting your name and your mission out there. So, but that would also be something, for the commission to consider. If it's not something that you guys want going forward, then work with the next executive director and we can make those changes. As far as the original salary without the TSI, I have put that into the spreadsheet that you guys will have available to you for doing that evaluation of the subject.
Okay, and TSI, just so everybody.
Oh, I'm sorry. Temporary salary increase. I'm sorry, I do speak in acronyms.
Oh, it's okay. Just ask CFO speaks in, acronym because that's how it goes. Okay, so, Secretary Rodini, you have other questions, comments?
Nope, I do that.
So, Vice Chair, you had something else?
So you will give us what that original salary was later on in another. Okay, that is, okay. So I just want to make sure that I understand that there's a lot of different scenarios happening. There's a lot of different possible programs that we still have on the lineup. But given everything, the grandiose options, we're at $11,000 over budget, given everything, high salaries, high everything. And then if we modify it, we could be less, come under budget. Okay.
And,
Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, yes, that's exactly.
Okay.
So this was worst case scenario. And again, when I did project the salary, I was looking also what you can sustain for next year. I didn't want to say, here's what I can do for the rest of this year because I only have 3 months. I wanted to look at next year to make sure that it was sustainable within the budget for next year also. So that is also built into the spreadsheet for you.
and I have a question. We're saying maybe some programs will be canceled and that'll help bring the budget in line. Already, some programs have been canceled. Is that right?
Mr. Chairman, yes, I believe that is correct. So I know there's a couple of things that she had talked about potentially that she was not going to be able to do. But also keeping in mind, all of those programs are in limbo until you hire your next executive director and they decide what direction they want to go with those.
Secretary, go ahead.
Did you have a question? I don't know how many programs were last year, but since the new hiring of the interim director, how many new programs are in place?
Chairman, I just want to, can you give me a moment?
Yeah, and we'll come back to your question. So Commissioner Naya?
I'm sorry, I just want to keep us on track since we've already rescheduled our interviews, because some of these questions are directed towards the acting executive director, and unfortunately, the CFO probably can't explain some of those.
Thank you, Christine. I agree. Thank you so much.
So then you withdraw your question?
I withdraw my question.
Okay.
I got no more questions.
I mean, if you have questions.
Nope. No questions for me.
Well, we still have 13 minutes. So Commissioner Mayo?
Oh, I just want to make sure.
Okay.
Time for training.
Okay. Commissioner Mayo wants to keep us on track. And Commissioner Naya wants to keep us on track. So does the Vice Chair. But I also want to make sure if anybody has any other question for the CFO, that they have a chance to ask it. Because this is and I think I do have one more. So anybody else have a question for the CFO? CFO Jennings, this is the question we need an answer to. Considering all the different variables from a low end to a high end. And granted, it would depend on what the commission decides, and it may depend on the qualifications, the experience of a candidate. I would like for you to give an opinion, again, adjusting all the variables so that it is the lowest end and adjusting all the variables so that it's at the higher end. What is the range that we could offer an executive director for a salary?
So, Mr. Chairman, so some of that information is built into the spreadsheet for you. And you guys will definitely have a copy of it to work with. I did bring in for the GovX employees or the exempt positions, which both of these positions are. One is a pay band 32, one is a pay band 36. The executive director, of course, is the pay band 36. The low end of that range is $34.20 per hour, all the way up to $79 per hour. Your budget will not sustain $79 per hour. Sorry.
Okay, what is the high end that our budget would sustain, again, adjusting all the variables toward the end of reaching the highest end of the range?
So that's going to be, Mr. Chairman, kind of twofold. So it depends on what you're paying the deputy director, whether we're maintaining that. So your salary will, or your budget will sustain 90,000 for next year as kind of a high end for the executive director. That left me with about $3,000 cushion in the 200 category, so you still have some wiggle room. What I built this for, and I apologize that on screen, let me see if I can get this. There we go. So this piece right here, whenever it does the full year projection, that puts the salaries at 232,000, keeping the deputy director where it currently is and bringing in the executive director at 90,000. That leaves room for a $15,000 insurance payment that also comes out of that category. You also understand this is an estimate because we don't know exactly what benefits they would select for health insurance. And but that keeps you in line with the 250,000 for next year.
Okay, so the 90,000 has an assumption that we keep the temporary salary increase in place for the deputy director, which was put in place for her serving as acting director. Is that right?
Yes, sir, because I wasn't sure what was going to happen with that.
No,
That gets touchy. So
that's why we have meeting and discuss and try to understand what the situation is.
right. I put that in their worst case because then you can take this and you can, change that. And it has what her original hourly rate was, so that you can have that information. You can change it and see if you stay within the 250,000.
Okay, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to piggyback off of Commissioner Carroll's thinking about worst case and best case. So this is one case. Now I need, if you can, please tell us what the reverse is. In other words, what is the maximum amount that we could offer? And this is for our knowledge and information. What is the maximum amount that we could, for an example, assuming that the temporary salary increase that was put in place for the acting director to be and act as the acting director is no longer in force? What is that number for then? How does that affect the potential compensation for an exec director is the question that I have.
Taking out the TSI gives me another $12,000 annually that would fit into the 250,000 for next year.
Okay, so the answer is 102,000. Okay, so thank you for that. Anybody else have any questions for the CFO? Otherwise, we can proceed to the next item on our agenda. Thank you, CFO Jennings, appreciate it. Recognizing Committee Chair Amelia for committee report related to the Executive Director search process.
Okay, thank you, folks. Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. You received this report via email on the report for March 14th of the Executive Director Search Committee. The Executive Director Search Committee ensured a fair and transparent process approved by the Commission on December 13th of 2024. Proposed procedures and subsequent amendments in January 2025 were unanimously adopted by the Commission, with reports included in the meeting minutes. Applications were open from January 21st to February 25th, 2025, resulting in 8 submissions. William Cornett, Nicole Bedford, Jason Dones, Cody Dorsey, Beverly Gaines, Danelle Curvin, Anthony McCrary, and Devontae Watson. On February 28, 2025, the committee reviewed the 8 applications to select finalists, focusing on completeness, mandatory qualifications, a preferred master's degree, and relevant experience in 6 key areas: leadership and strategy, program development, community engagement, fundraising, administrative oversight, and policy advocacy. The committee agreed not to advance applicants lacking the required references by the February 25, 2025. Deadline to ensure timely reference checks and adherence to application instructions. The committee unanimously selected 3 finalists: Nicole Bedford, Cody Dorsey, and Danelle Kervin, based on complete applications, meeting mandatory requirements and demonstrating strong experience in key duties. However, Mr. Cody Dorsey withdrew his application after given opportunity to interview. The committee approved a report summarizing its analysis and finalists selections, which has been submitted to the secretary for inclusion in the meeting minutes. In conclusion, I respectfully recommend to the commission that it adopt the March 14, 2025 report of the Executive Director Search Committee, and I move the adoption of the committee report.
Thank you for the report and for that motion. Chair Amelia, is there a second?
Second.
Second by the Vice Chair. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Secretary to call the roll. You still call his name just in case he is.
Commissioner Devon, are you here with us? Commissioner Amelia.
Yes.
And ask, just call the name.
Cabinet Secretary Jesse Monette. Proxy. Commissioner Christina Naya.
Yes.
Commissioner Carroll.
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon Pino.
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson.
Yes.
Okay, yes. Commissioner Stone.
Yes.
Commissioner Traub. Commissioner Vice Chair Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Umi.
Yes.
And Chairman.
I vote yes. Did you vote as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. And you voted yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just 10 yeses, the motion carries.
Thank you, Secretary. So that takes us to the next item on our agenda, which is the action to convene in closed session to discuss and consider the matters listed on the agenda. Vice Chair, I usually ask you to make these couple motions. Do you mind? I sure do. Here it is. Here's this. So,
Alrighty, so I make a motion to for an action to convene in the closed session to discuss and consider one, limited personnel matters, specifically including candidates for executive director position, executive direct search process, applicants, interviews, employee, and discussion and consideration of finalists pursuant to Open Meetings Act, NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-1 H2.
thank you, Vice Chair. Is there a second to the Vice Chair's motion?
Second.
As Secretary seconded, and is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Robinson.
Commissioner Robinson,
I would like to exclude myself from the executive section because I'm not there physically and I don't want to be online on executive session.
okay, I understand you will be absent going forward. If you decide to join, you'll be welcome to do so if you feel up to it, but you're of course not obligated, Commissioner. We thank you for being here as long as you've been able to tolerate it under the circumstances. We really appreciate that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, Commissioner. So any other discussion on the motion to convene in closed session? Hearing none, the Secretary, please call the roll.
Sorry. Well, Commissioner Robinson has left.
Abstain. I abstain.
Abstain.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, we note your abstention, Commissioner. Thank you.
Commissioner Amelia.
Yes,
Are we muted? Because our microphone is muted.
no.
No, because they're hearing and responding. It's just,
Oh,
it's because on my, it's just confusing.
Okay, I just checking to make sure everybody could hear us. So,
Do we need to remove him?
You're still voting on the motion to go into close, so.
yeah, so we'll leave that as is.
Where's he located? Where's house?
Okay, we're voting on the motion. Yeah, we're voting on the motion to convene in closed session. The secretary, please call the roll, starting with Commissioner Dabney.
Resuming the roll to go to closed session, starting with Commissioner Dabney. Commissioner Dabney. All right. Commissioner Amelia again.
Yes.
Cabinet Secretary Monet. Not here, absent. Commissioner Anaya.
Yes.
Commissioner Carroll.
Yes.
Commissioner Champino.
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson abstains. Commissioner Rothini, yes, to go to close. Commissioner Stone.
Yeah.
Commissioner Traub. Not present. Commissioner Vice Chair.
Yes.
Commissioner Omi.
Yes.
Commissioner Chair, Little B West.
I vote yes.
All right. Let's close this thing down.
So the vote count
That
is,
vote count is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9.
9 in favor and 1 abstention.
Yes, sir.
And motion carries. So we're now in closed session. Anybody who is present, who is not a member of the commission, please excuse yourselves. And then online, we will do the same thing. We'll go into closed session online with Commissioner Naya's, excellent help as always. Thank you, Commissioner.
You're welcome. I'll see you on the other link.
Okay,
I will have to,
okay, just a moment, Commissioner. Let me make sure that we, are fully in executive session. And we get confirmation from Doug on that, hopefully.
If there's what's the other link?
The other link I emailed, last night. So you should have it in, oh, you don't have it because I don't have your email address.
Probably Blaine.
Blaine's gonna get it over to you. But, who is,
That's Lisa.
That's me.
okay, so
but then,
we should,
Christine is not here.
right, so we need to, what we need to do is end this session. And then we'll be able to join the executive session link. I think that's what needs to happen.
Yes. All right, on the other screen. All right.